We are set for a 3-way title race this season. If you don't believe me, just check out the race pace of the first 3 drivers at the Imola GP. If you look closely, all the 3 drivers are just separated by just 1/10 of a second. This is somewhat closer to the convergence point which I had mentioned earlier. As we go through the summer, this convergence point will only get closer and closer. And now we are at the crown jewel of the motorsport racing. Welcome to the preview of the Monaco Grand Prix. My name is Eben and you are watching the Pit Lane Chronicles. The race at Monte Carlo is considered one of the triple jewels of the motorsport racing, along with the Indianapolis 500 and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. If you want to make a short recap of what happened at Imola, it was more to do with the track position that the racers had for that particular day. Max Verstappen, with this tremendous quali lap at Imola on Saturday, got himself the track position, which eventually got very thrilling at the end, but then remained unchanged. Now somewhat similar will be experienced at Monaco unless the team decides to screw themselves. But before we get on to the individual teams, we shall do a small roundabout of the track, which has more or less remained unchanged since its first race in 1929. Monaco is the most technically demanding race and the ultimate test of driving skills for a driver. By the time the driver reaches the finishing line, a driver will have made almost 5,000 gear changes. At just over 2 miles in total, the Monaco Grand Prix has the shortest lap distance of all the Formula 1 races. We start with the main straight along the Boulevard Albert Monnier. Then we have a tight right-hander which is crucial for a clean getaway and positioning into the climb. We then have an uphill stretch and left, and this section actually demands a bit of precision with the throttle. Then we have the Casino Square, which is a sweeping right past the famous Casino di Monte Carlo, providing a picturesque yet challenging corner. After that we have the sharp right hand corner where the drivers must brake hard while navigating downhill. We then come close to the Grand Hotel hairpin, which is the slowest corner in Formula 1. This is followed by another right turn leading to Portier, a crucial setup for the tunnel. Drivers can now apply full throttle through the iconic tunnel, emerging into bright sunlight. This is followed by Novelli chicane, which is one of the hardest chicane to be taken in the calendar. Then we have a fast left-hander along the waterfront, demanding courage and precision. We then have a quick series of left-right flicks, which requires perfect balance and control. And there is the famous swimming pool La Rascasse tight right hand corner, which actually demands careful navigation. And this is then followed by the final right hander onto the start finish straight, which gives you the momentum for starting onto the next lap. Now coming on to the teams, Red Bull actually seemed a bit lackluster, especially at the Imola GP. Before the Miami GP, the difference between Red Bull and the rest was close to 4/10, and it can be said that McLaren now has made the most improvement. They have somewhat like reduced that gap of 0.4 to less than 0.1, or one can even say less than 100th of a second, which has to be commended. And not to forget, Zach Brown actually came up with such statements that it is all because of the car that Max Verstappen is leading or winning the Grand Prix or dominating the sport, and there are like other 6-7 drivers who could actually manage to win with the Red Bull. And yes, Zach, that is possible, but then that doesn't take away from the fact that Max is a very bright talent, and have to say he's one of the best drivers on the grid, and that is why even with all that tire deck at the end of Imola, he was able to sustain his lead and went on to win the Imola Grand Prix. My point is that McLaren is the closest team right now to Red Bull, and since we are already on to the Papaya team, let's talk a bit more about them. McLaren has decided to give a proper Ayrton Senna tribute by extending the special livery to the team kit and overalls for drivers Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, ensuring a comprehensive homage to the legendary Ayrton Senna at the 2024 Monaco Grand Prix. Ferrari did get the upgrades for the last weekend, but it didn't reflect for the position they had on the track. But then it can be said that it was more to do with the track, that is Imola, where track position on Saturday is much more important than the machinery. If you compare the lap times of the front 3, it's somewhat similar for them for every compound they had. My conclusion is they also are not so off from the top, and a better Saturday could actually give even Ferrari a better chance at a race win at Monaco. Mercedes, with their new updates from last weekend, did make decent progress by finishing 6th and 7th, and it can be said that it is actually commendable. They were actually the 4th best team last weekend. It will be the same for this week as well. But then it is actually the customer team Aston Martin where everything seems to be falling apart. Fernando Alonso just had the worst finishing for himself at an F1 race, which actually tells you the state of the current team. Lance Stroll got a couple of points at the end, which was a decent result by gaining 4 positions and finished 22 seconds ahead of Tsunoda, who actually will be the rivals of the Aston Martin instead of the Mercedes for the rest of the year. There are strong reports that Papa Stroll is not happy with the way the team is getting run or how the team is performing currently. And not just the Strolls, but then also their major partners Aramco, who are developing this synthetic fuel for the future and would want to leave a mark in the F1 world, wouldn't be that happy with how the team is currently managing to be still in that mid-table clash with Racing Bulls, not actually making any progress like they made last year. Their upgrades from last week have barely worked out, and I don't think anything different might happen for this particular weekend, since 1 week isn't enough to just completely get over your downforce Kawam. I'm more interested on the performance of the Haas drivers. Nico Hülkenberg had a wonderful weekend at Imola. His qualifying performance at Imola might just not have given huge boost and confidence for the Haas, but also for Audi and Sauber, with whom he will be collaborating from 2026. Now let's get on to the predictions for the race. My predictions are somewhat similar to what I gave for the Imola Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri gets the pole and the victory at the Monaco Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc comes at 2nd and Max Verstappen at 3rd. Lando Norris and Sergio Perez might get the 4th and 5th, and that would be my predictions for this weekend. Write down in the comments below what are your predictions for this weekend. If you liked the video, do drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you all in the next video.